Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
In understanding something which we never understood, but we emphasize again and again on it for you to understand. In a dimension of the physicality of the man, we know in a dimension of physicality of the man has no physical dimension if there is not an environmental field, which means we have no dimension, if there was no magnetical gravitational field of the earth around us. If we move to another dimension, if we move to another position, and the environment changes, we'll find out that us as man will not exist. This is a very nice trick. But what will be interesting for most of us is if we change the field, the environmental field, do we become invisible? In the field dimension of the man, on earth, we have a physicality. When we change the fields, we disappear. What kind of new creatures would be us manifesting ourselves at? Is the possibility of a line of life changes? Or do we still have that possibility, that what I call having the soul inside it? Having the soul that can bring the dimension of physicality to the soul of physicality in a new condition of life. In a way, if we change, if we bring a new condition, a new environment, how would we look? Would we trust to be able to go back to our real colors and conditions and life as a man? Would we think as a man in a dimension, or would we think as a new creature, new understanding according to the environment we manifest ourselves? The truth about all this is that have we understood that we have a nuclear bomb with massive radiation capabilities, that is a cosmic rays, sits within the center of the body of the man. We call it the soul of the man. It is more energetic, it's more powerful in strength than the whole of the physicality put together. Body of the man is made of billions and billions of cells, and each cell itself has an energy to maintain its position and the condition of life. So the body of the man physically is a energy packs times billions, trillions. And that energy in the dynamic motion transfer of the fields to what we call its blood creates a cage to hold this in. One energy pack encaging another. But there is an interconnection between these two that allows one to be embedded inside the other. In a way, if you look at it in a bigger scale, you have your physical dimension outside from the interaction of these two. It's very much like gravity and magnetical field. In their interaction, we create the mass. Physicality. There is no difference if you call the soul of physicality magnetical field and the soul of the man the gravitational field, with the capability that one can change position with the other. Through an interconnection, through an interline power level, what we call common denominator, they can switch from one to another. Then this switch will decide in interaction with the environment how you manifest yourself at a point and a place. You switch the fields to the dimension of physicality, what do we have? We are going to have an amazing condition where what we call the dimension of the interaction, dimension of the position and the position of the fields can create the different dimension of physicality of the man in the same environment. What it means, you can change slightly the emotion, the dimension, and the direction. And then in that process, you can turn from being a white man to a black man. Because the environment of the earth has not changed. Is the field emotion of the place you live with allows you to do the transmutation. You look like Chinese, you speak Chinese, you understand the emotion of the Chinese language. Because now you kept within a gravitational magnetic field of the planet Earth. Is the inertia. and a position in respect to the center and a condition of the fields of the inertia created, which gives you that environment. Don't forget, when you enter a new environment, let's say from England you go to China, the soul of the Chinese dictates part of that inertia. The soul of emotion of the nation, culture, language, dictates that part of inertia. That's why you manifest yourself if you decide as a Chinese and understand the whole lot. Then the language and the dictionaries are not needed, because now you don't need to press this and it gives you the meaning but not the emotion of. Now when you speak, you understand your soul has the emotion of the feeling of the word too. Now you decide to change the gravitational field of the earth to the moon. Now you manifest yourself in that position in the moon as a man of the moon. Is there a life on the moon? Is the collective life and interaction of your soul with it teaches you how to communicate, how to exist? Or you create a new dimension that the interaction of the emotion of the soul of the man and the soul of his Gatian man translates that to the existence on that planet. You learn the language, you learn the feature, not out of transmutation, but by the collection of the interaction of the fields of the environment, of the soul of the people, entities who live in that environment. They transfer the energy, they transfer the knowledge to you as much as you transfer to them. It's not only the transmutation by the physical dimension, is interaction of the soul of the man in transmutation that interacts with the soul of the citizens of that environment, that allows you to be part, to be understood, and to live like them.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 544th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, June 27th, 2024. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute, Education Department, and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be host once again in this continuous weekly series of workshops that's been ongoing for over 10 years now. And once again, we have the honor of being joined with Mr. Mehran Keshe to present today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready and raring to go today?
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen. This is the Knowledge Seekers from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Learning is part of the curvature of the work and the knowledge seeking of the Keshe Foundation, and we learn every day something new on how we do. In the exercises of the last couple of weeks with the Friday sessions and other sessions, it becomes apparent more and more knowledge seekers are learning how to transmute, or at least start the process of. What is interesting for us is to understand the next step in transmutation. What we saw today is, as an intro, it tells you what happens if the field changes. What happens if you decide not to change the field of the environment, but change the strength of the field of the body of the man? Change the strength of the soul of the man. And to what extent, even if we change the material strength of the matter state of the body of the man, or the soul of physicality of the man, what would happen? This comes to a point where our knowledge seekers are becoming to the what we call new sessions in July, August, September, in how they want to manifest themselves, or how you as knowledge seekers would like to manifest yourself. You still don't change environment. You're still on Earth. You go from Europe as a white man, or you go from Africa as a black man, and you land in other continent. How do you change the color of your skin? How do you create emotion to be able to go to that level? What fields do you create that only changes the color of the skin of the man? Maybe changes the tone of the voice of the man. You cannot have a white tone in Africa, it doesn't fit. The same, you as a white man in Europe with the African voice doesn't fit. How do you, being in the same environment, change to fit the environment? How would you change as being a man to a tree, or to a lizard, or to a bird? As the soul of the emotion is there, now man has the capability to do this. What do you need to change? What emotions you have to bring into play? The color of your kidney, the color of your heart, the color of your intestine doesn't change. We don't see different colored liver if you're a black, white man, yellow, whatever. What happens to you if you decide to understand the emotion of the strength of the field of an animal which has a different color in blood, different sap? How do you control those? How do you change it? And in which level of the strength of the soul you have to go to change? Can you go to the interaction of the soul of the man and see the light, and at that point see in which level you want to change the color of that skin? In the last sessions of this month on Friday, we asked knowledge seekers to go from the soul of the man to the soul of the creator to see the second sun. And some achieved that. Some saw the second light. Some couldn't. What happened? You don't want to see the light of the knowledge of the creator. You want to change the skin of the man on this planet. This is what now we come to. This is what we call the exercises is. You had the capability to go. Now, from that light, when you see the light of the soul with the emotional man, How do you change the emotion that allows the skin change? I don't like this, I want to change that. It's like changing a frock, it's like changing clothes. It's like understanding the field strength of the emotion of the man to what skin color man likes to be. You can never be negative. You cannot take, you always add to. You add with the love of the man. I love to see how I look in that skin color. And when you arrive to it, I love the color alive, what I look like. Resentment does not exist in the dimension of the emotion. Resentment is the feeling of the man in interaction of the soul of physicality and the physicality of the man. This is why all the attributes of the creator is positive, he's generous, he's giving, he's kind. Because negativity or reversal in a way as we see it, hate and resentment and the other things which goes as a negative too, is the dimension of the feeling, emotion does not exist in the dimension of the interaction of the soul of physicality with the dimension of physicality of the man. And this, if we understand, it means we have to satisfy two servants at the same time in both dimensions of the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of the man in the same strength. That's why it's impossible to go negative. It's impossible to do bad things. It's impossible to be what I call somebody who takes, because the balance of the field forces of the physicality with the soul of the man always creates in one dimension, which is the creation, a positive move. You keep distance, but you do not create destruction. You do not create war. In the cycle of the man life, we have to understand this. Do we use rays to change the color, or do we use fields of emotion to change the color? Do we change the what we call the field interaction to create a change? Or do we use the emotion interaction in a matter of race? This is what it will come in the next few months, and knowledge seekers who come through these sessions will learn how to be the chameleon of the soul, not the physicality. How to change the strength. In the next few weeks, in one of the Thursday sessions, we'll again bring collectively all of you to test, to taste, to understand how much you have evolved. If you remember a few months ago, we did this. This time we do it differently. This time we reach the speed of rotation of the soul of the man. We, in our control system, introduce a system that brings joy at the same time all of you feel the joy. At the moment, you have to think too. And the new process will introduce, we create a dimension that you tap to the strength of your soul to see that. When I ask that all of you, can you see a fish? You all see the fish. It's very easy. It's the addition to the knowledge which has brought and brings this change. Which means by changing of the speed, which is the outer layer of the rotation of the speed of the soul of the man's, or in a way going in a deeper way, and expanding the fields of the magnetical dimension, if you understand it, We change interaction dimension in conjunction with the soul of physicality to create the new life, the new skin color, the new manifestation color. We know this technique is part of our genes, but we have forgotten about it in our daily life. Changing of the color to fit the environment, the usage is in our inherited genes, is inherited DNA, it's inherited in our RNA. But we never understood that the soul of the man is the controller of the manifestation. If you don't understand it, it's very simple. You have seen it so much that you come used to it. Look at your hand. The palm of the hand is different color than the back of your hand. Especially this is much clearer if you're from Africa. The color of the palm is different than the color of the back of the hand. Does not matter, you're white, black, is always the color difference. And this is how we give and we take energy. This is how our soul knows change of color. But we have never considered, we never understood how we are chameleons. We have 2 different colors, maybe some of us 3 or 4 different colors. The flat of your foot and the skin on top of the foot. The way you go in the sun when you suntan. Why some of you can burn and some of you can walk in the sun and never tan? The skin of the man is part of the brain of the man. It's the way we are created. So in that, if you understand, the skin of the man is the containment of the soul of physicality and the soul of the man, and their interaction decides the skin of the man, the color of it. And when the scientists understand this, when you as knowledge seekers go to transmutation and understand where to position your soul of physicality within the soul of the man, when you manifest yourself, when the soul of physicality becomes outside the soul of the man, what color and what the strength you have to position it in the emotion to satisfy your manifestation. I go to Africa and I still want to be white. And I go to Europe and I still want to be black. If we understand these natural processes, which is part of the emotion of the life of the man, and in the dimension of biological and whatever, we have explained everything about it without understanding the reason behind it, then we understand man has carried out, has been part of its life within it. And to what extent we exchange for it. Why many of you, especially women, have a dark root and a blonde end after a few centimeters or a few millimeters? Why some of us have a black root hair and a white hair extension? These all come from the process of emotion. We never understand, we never understood. And if we apply that emotion, we can be as white a skin as a white sheet. Doesn't matter where we go, because we decide to have. And you can have what we call it, I don't know if you've seen a blue black. The skin of the man is so blue black that it shows itself as blue. If you understand all we need to know is actually to understand the physiology of the man. Then, through that emotion, we can create different color of our skin depending on how and where we want to manifest ourselves. This is part of the learning curve of transmutation. You don't want to change the color of your kidney. You don't want to change the color of your eye. Or you want to keep that color of eye when you manifest yourself. Then, as I said, when I was explaining this to one of the knowledge seekers some time ago, you make the job of the hairdressers obsolete. Through emotion, you naturally change your color. You don't need to go and bleach it and put all chemicals on you and then change everything else. Then you don't need makeup, because you can change it through the emotion. And we know this. How do you blush? It's through emotion, which interacts with the skin of the man, and then they say the blood makes you blush. The blood is just a tool to where the actual thing comes from emotion of the soul. Then we understand. We already know what we are teaching. We never stood still to understand the process which has come from the emotion of the man. If you understand this, you can even put your finger in the fire and doesn't burn, because you can change the dimension of physicality. You can change the dimension of feeling strength of the physicality at that point of strength. We knew this when millions of years ago, when we were conceived as humans, as a new cell to structure as an animal on this planet. We know this because we've seen it with animals which change their tail, they drop their skin. You can cut the tail and it grows back again. How does come that the snake can move their skin? We never understood. We have come out with all sorts of chemical reactions that actually understanding is the emotion of the soul. Then we understand in the transmutation sessions which coming up, I can ask you, you want to be a dog, you can be a dog. You want to be a cat, you can be a cat. Whatever you feel within you, then you see if you like the life of the cat, the emotion of it. Because don't forget, you go to the other planet, you go to other position in the universe, you in a way change to days due to interaction of the soul of the man with the environment. This time you do the same environment, but different position of the soul of physicality, energy interaction with the soul interaction fields. That's the only difference, how we become different animals. Emotion of need, emotion of food, emotion of I become a slightly different, I eat different part of the grass, I become a cow, a donkey, a deer, and whatever. And through that part, I absorb energies which emphasizes and re-emphasizes I stay still a deer. If you understand this principle, many of you, as we come to the transmutation, will go through this process. It's not always in interaction with the environment, is interaction with the soul of the man, with the emotion, feel the strength, and at the same time, satisfaction of the soul of physicality. We have to learn this as more and more your knowledge seekers shift into the position of the transmutation. In the coming time, when we show the what we call vertical systems in operation, when we make the body of the system transparent, while you're in the system, I can change the color of your skin. You wear different frocks to be blue and green, with understanding what field interaction we can create within the structure of the system, which interacts with the soul and emotion of the man. I can change the color of your skin. You don't need those different color spotlights. You light up the emotion part of the light color you like within you, emotion of satisfaction. In a future time, when you travel from one position in the space to another, I'm sorry, you cannot have your mini skirts, you cannot have your jeans. The jacket is out of question because it does not have the strength to survive, but you want to cover your genitals that it doesn't show because you feel ashamed if it does. You create that dimension of the strength that you do not need to wear the clothes of the man. I only allow to be seen to who I like to see. I create the field of the strength of the emotion that creates that condition. Gradually in the coming months, as we introduce new systems, you will understand more and more. We have in our position in the knowledge of the Keshe Foundation to interact with your physicality, to interact with your soul of physicality, and to interact with your soul. Change the field of strength that your soul expand to that it manifests itself as desire emotion to be manifested. I said one thing long time ago, and maybe from today's teaching you understand what was said that time. One single atom of hydrogen can cover the whole of this solar system, the galaxy, and the universe. It depends what fields enforces it to hold it to its size. If you ever understood that, today you understand how different strength, expansion, strength, dimension, and position will change the color of the manifestation of the man. One day, if you become a physicist, if you one day you understand the evolution in the science, then man always says that, let's say the isotope of iron is 56, 55, 60. From the plasma point of view, we see different color for each isotope. All the isotopes of iron are not the iron color. And then you understand how man can change the color of his skin. Each isotope has slightly different number of something in it. Man has called it neutron, whatever. that absorbs or gives different interaction fields with its environment. Then, if you understood this, you understand how much the scientists of the man have not even understood this part. And if you understood this part, you understand that additional energy field can change the color of the skin in interaction with the field of the soul of it. That's so simple. Then maybe even we understand how chameleons work in changing the color to fit the environment. The birds fly the line of the emotion and magnetic field of their soul and the dimension of the field of their soul of physicality to fly from one continent to another, to a tree which changes color, shape, and everything every year they go back to. A chameleon feels the emotion, magnetic field, the strength of his environment and matches into because he has a control of. It's exactly how we create different colored ganses from the same gans when it's in the pot. One day is green, the other day is black, the other day is blue. His field of strength in respect to his environment changes. So does the chameleon does through the field of strength of his soul. Then it should not be hard for knowledge seekers in the next sessions to come be able to understand this and visibly watch the skin change in color according to the emotion they create. Then, is there any room for race, color prejudices? Can we be prejudiced against what we can do to change ourselves? Where it's become the capability of every man, and if we embed it within the structure of the soul of the man, the soul of the emotion of the man, man cannot hate any color in his life because he has the capability to become that color. And the most interesting part is that as you create the emotion of hate in interaction with your body, now that you're in transmutation, you'll have the color you hate because you create the emotion field of it. Then you become what you don't like to be, and then you start saying, "It's me, I enjoy it." And then is there a point for racism, for being prejudiced, irrespective of color, race, religion, or whatever? We have written off the religions because now we understand the soul of the man is the religion of the man, and all follows the same rule. And then it comes to the others and the others. What is important is how you control the fields of that emotion. Then is interaction with the soul of physicality, and or if the soul of the man allows the man to feel the environment, that then in interaction with the soul of physicality decides that I want to manifest myself in this environment, to pleasure the time, the place, and the space I'm within. You felt the water is too cold, I don't jump in the swimming pool, I stay outside. So the emotion of the man in interaction with the soul of the man does the same thing with the environment. If I'm going to manifest myself in the dimension of physicality because the fields of the soul and the environment and the emotion does not fit, I'm not coming out. I'm staying as energy. And now you know even how you manifest yourself. In the physical dimension, your physical body interacts with the emotion of the environment, the physicality of the environment, and decides how to manifest itself. I'm wearing a bikini, I'm going to go in a sheep's skin and every other skin. Or the emotion creates that condition that now the soul tests the physical, environmental, magnetic field strength that would the physicality survive if I allow it to manifest itself. And if it does what it needs to take shape, and what the strength of the field in respect to emotion needs to manifest itself, to release itself, that it can manifest itself in the dimension of physicality. You had problem in what to eat, how to eat, and what to enjoy in the dimension of physicality. These don't exist. Your problem becomes how I want to manifest itself. And if I do what I need, that there is enough in that dimension that the physicality can survive. In the dimension of life, in the physical dimension of the man, we breathe the energy of the air and we ignore it. We don't understand how it works. We eat the food, we eat what this planet grows as food, and we consume the energy. We drink the waters of this planet. But we never considered the interaction of the fields of this planet with our soul. And because we didn't understand, we brought another fallacy of what we call dynamism. What we changed to evolution. What Darwin brought up, but never understood, in fact, is what we call evolution is the interaction of the soul of the man to be able to exist within the environment of the magnetic fields of this environment, and what is allowed by the fields which a solar system allows it to do. We have never understood that what we call Darwinism, what we call the evolution, is not just because of the time, because of the distance from the sun, the field, the strength we get, the position we have moved to survive in the solar system, that allows what to feel that it has forces us in condition of the interaction of the field of what we call inertia of the environment for us to be manifested and changed to, and change color and size and everything else. In fact, the evolution is dictated by the magnetic field of the environment and not by anything else. Because even the food we eat is conditioned to that position. In recent past, as I've said before, scientists have found an island which the elephants are half of the size of the elephants on the mainland. Men are half the size. Because they had to live in cave in a small environment, so they reduced their size. The magnetic field of the environment dictates the physical manifestation. And if you understand this, then you understand in the dimension of the emotion of the man, you can even change your height to fit you. The growth of the man is a dimension of the field interaction of the solar physicality and interaction with the fields of the magnetic field of the planet, and how the soul will allow how much field to be released to keep this balance. Is the strength of the field of our soul in interaction with the soul of physicality, which dictates our height, the color of our hair, and everything else, and we never understood. And now that we understand, and we can change the field and the strength of the emotion, we can change our color, we can change our size, everything else is possible, and you manifest yourself. In a way, we know this process, but in a way, we left it to the chances of what we call DNA and RNA. We are all born around 50, 55 centimeters. We can stay mature in that size, even walk in that size. But we allow our soul, in interaction with the soul of physicality, in receiving the fields from the environment, for us to grow taller. 1 meter, the same 55 goes 160, with the same 55 goes to 2 meters. We never understood this. It's the satisfaction of the soul, the balance between the two. Why some races we see now by change of food have become taller races? Is it the energy of the food, or is that energy which absorbed creates a different strength in the soul of physicality, which in that position, in respect to the soul of the man and the environmental field, allows taller person? We haven't understood this, but we see it happening. We are so used to it that we ignore it. That if you understand the process, if our soul, position of the soul of physicality, is the main ingredient controller of, then when you transmute, you can decide to hide the color. Then you understand how much more we still need to learn. We need to understand more than learning. It's not the learning, it's an enlightenment to see the light of the soul of the man. In the sessions to come, we ask you to move away, to move the energy of the emotion away from your soul, which is interacting with you, and see to what color you're happy. And then you open your eyes, you see yourself in that color. It's that simple. It's not magic. It's understanding the process of the creation. In a way, we know this process. We call it the shift in the world of physics. The red shift or the white shift. Coming to us or going away from us. Is the soul coming closer to the soul of emotion? Or is it coming more towards the soul of physicality, emotion? And would that change our color? Isn't this the reason why we change color at old age? Isn't this the reason why at the age of 20 you suddenly get white hairs? Because you've gone through a trauma of emotion? Now we understand the reason. We understand the collaborator of this to be. And if you manage through the interaction of the fields, change the strength of the root of the hair for the hair to go white, then you understand why. In the new technologies, in the new sciences, why do people which go through what we call chemotherapy lose all their hair? And then it grows back again. Because chemo creates a field which interacts between the emotion of the man and emotion of the soul of the man and emotion of the soul of physicality. And when it comes back to balance, when these chemical effects are gone, due to energy interference, the condition under the hair will come the same, and the roots appears and the hair appears. Then if you understand this, do we need to go to Turkey and do all these hair plants, which when you go to the airport, you see a white patch on the back and a white patch in the front, and half of the plane are all wounded, injured deliberately to change and grow color on their head and their forehead. Travel once to Istanbul, to any European country, and see how many people have been banging their heads on the beds in the surgery rooms in what we call Turkey, especially Italian men. If you see them, you think they come from war, but all they've done, they've rooted the hair from the back to put on the top. But if they knew the process, they can grow the hair through the same emotion. Then we understand. Then we need to comprehend the process of the field creation and not matter creation. And this is where the difference comes within the Keshe Foundation technology and other technologies, because we speak about the energy fields and they speak about the matter state. And if you understand this, understand which side you are and which energy is connected to where and in what fields, the universe becomes your oyster and the universe becomes the playground of your emotion. In the coming time, as we add new technologies, we interfere with the strength of the field of your soul, and there is no rule anywhere in any books, any government, any parliament, any rule book that says fields cannot be interacted and played with, and there is no FDA for these kind of activities of the creator. The rest in the dimension of physicality is controlled by those who want to control it. In the dimension of soul, no one has a control. I said this in one occasion in the past. If man knew how he can change the color of his skin, would so many blacks will be shot in America because of the color of his skin by the white policeman? Because whites cannot do wrong to them, and a black man, through the strength of the soul, can change his color to white. Then you understand how much easy it is to get rid of, to understand more of prejudices and misunderstanding between the energy and matter state. All the laws of the man are in the condition of matter state. And all the ones who abuse the energy state, they become the religions and the rest. And those who understand the process of the fields and the energy, magnetic field of the universe, become the passengers of the universe. And in both dimensions, man can survive. And man always has survived because the soul of the man is within the man, and the physicality of the man is within the soul of the man, if the man decides to. There is no place for mediator between your soul of physicality and the soul of the man. Now you understand how deep this technology and the knowledge of the creation is going to become. Is going to be manifested itself in dimension of the reality of the extension of the fields of the soul of the man in interaction with the emotion of the man, which allows the position of the soul of physicality. Then you understand even how you can transmute into the dimension of the soul and back to physicality with the change of the strength of the emotion of the man. If you understood this, you have understood the secret of creation. And manifestation, the dimension of physicality, or Transmutation in the dimension of the soul of the man as energy. Ponder on this, and you have found the key to the everlasting life. Ignore it, you live the life of the man as it is in the dimension of physicality, and either way, the soul will be free in a time of his choice. Free of the dimension of physicality and all the pain which it brings. We go for a break and we come back, and I hope you learn a little bit more about yourself and nothing else, and your own capabilities and your own strength and what you have misunderstood. Please take us for a break and we come back, and then as usual we answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Okay, this is the 544th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, June 27th, 2024. We will be back shortly.
Water is the foundation of our life. It is part of every living creature. Pure water gives you the energy of nature. Now you can have this energy in your home. The Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer is designed for your daily well-being. It increases the pH of the water so your body can absorb more oxygen and stay in its natural condition during the day. Keshe Foundation Alkalizer and Energizer. Be pure like the water.
Okay, we are back again at the 544th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here. And because this is the second part of the show, we have the opportunity to ask questions of Mr. Keshe. I'll remind our attendees here that you can raise your virtual hand, and then we can acknowledge you and open the microphone if you'd like to ask a question. Otherwise, questions can be posted in the webinar chat or in the YouTube chat as well. Okay,
Thanks
Mr.
very much.
Keshe.
Yes, thank you very much. But we are in the second part, and we usually make any comments or announcements. We have not much to announce or bring about, is except that those of you who want to join these monthly sessions, we are narrowing the sessions number of people to numbers which we can handle and control for us very small groups to be able to go through the whole process. Please, when you make your request, put your time zone, which continent or which country or which time zone. Because we have this with the Americans and we have this with some other countries. The country has 2 or 3 time zones or different time zones in different parts. We need to be able to bring you together in time zones which allows all of you to be more or less awake. It's a hard work for Keshe Foundation and our team in the background to literally repeat everything again and again, 4 or 5 times a day during these sessions. But the whole purpose is to teach you to learn and how to handle the strength of the soul and the transmutation. So please, when you make your registration, please state the time zone or send us an email. This is the time zone I want to be at this session. If there are any questions, we can answer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. See, we have a couple of questions in the Q&A here. We have a question from Nadi from the Brazilian community, who says, I understand the explanations about cancer. It's very good to understand that. However, do animals go through the same process? I wonder why non-human beings suffer from certain diseases.
They have the same emotion. And that emotion creates the same kind of energy difference in their physicality. There's no difference. We take a child away from the mother at birth, or it goes in the position of losing a mother or whatever. This is the traumas the child will have in growing up. We see the same thing if you take a puppy away too early from the breast of the mother. Separation. We see the same thing with a cat. We just look at the physicality running. We never ask the cat what is the problem. Have you seen a puppy which is separated from the mother after 3 or 4 weeks? And a puppy which is separated from the mother after 10 or 12 weeks, when the natural process is gone. And has anybody followed to see what other diseases this puppy gets? And how the children turn up. Why do we see a specific behavior in orphan people? They all have a typical behavior. And if you are there to abuse it or use it to your benefit, you see it, you can do it. Open doesn't mean that you don't have a father or mother. You can still have the father, but the father is non-existent in the relationship. You're orphan. And you see that behavior from the child. It's a very strange phenomenon where children or adults who their parents separated, they say we understand each other. We come from a split family. Because it creates certain type of behavior in most of cases. And this is how it works, how the pattern is. Emotion creates certain behavior. Any other question?
Okay, from YouTube, from Peng Peter. Will transmutation change the characteristics of a soul, that a man will manifest itself as a woman and vice versa?
Not really, unless you decide to do it in the satisfaction of the dimension of physicality. You are the decision maker. Not really, no. Any other?
Okay, from Off Script in YouTube says, "Good day, Mr. Keshe. The soul conveys that it's easier to transmute in water. Is that why the womb is a water sac, and why it may be easier to transmute a fish than a man? What can you share on this?"
Not really, because interesting enough, within the structure of the body of the man, we still choose that water condition because it can absorb fields into it and reflects it or release it. When we talk about we absorb 80% of our fields from the environment, majority of this is absorbed by the lymph liquid. The way when you eat food, it transfers this energy to the lymph and the body uses it. The lymph inside the body of man does the same thing with the cosmic rays. I explained this in one of the discussions some time ago. A man is taking tons of water in the deepest caves and puts all sorts of cameras on it to see a neutrino converting energy and creating photon. Hasn't managed to do so yet. Because man hasn't learned that he has to change the strength of the field of that water to be able to interact with the cosmic rays, that they convert, they become, in a matter state, a photon, if you want it to be. In a way, your knowledge seekers know this. You put two plates, you create, change the environment, and that neutrino is the CO2, the gas of magnetic field of the sea in interaction with the oxygen of the water, it becomes CO2. You knowledge seekers know more about conversion of energy to matter state, or light or photon than any man, and all these PhDs in all the universities and all the billions spent on finding one neutrino. In every bucket of CO2 is trillions of neutrino of carbon strength. So is the body of the man. The body of the man, the lymph has the same property. Is that water tank in the, what we call in the cave, where man cannot see a light or photon to say a neutrino change, where the lymph of the man has adapted itself to convert the neutrinos of the, what we call incoming energies, that it can use it for the body. Instead of being a light, it becomes that light energy that it gives fed to your body. You absorb more neutrinos in your body than the world scientists will ever see in the depth of the, what we call mines, with tons of and a lot of billions of dollars spent. The stupidity of the man is limitless because he never understood the process of creation. So this is how we change energy in our body. This is how the lymphs work, and the purpose of the lymph is, if it converts or it transfers the energy from the solid food of this planet, if the lymphs within the structure of the lung of the man converts the energy of the air of this planet for man to be energized, and when it goes slightly wrong, we say we got the water in the lung. It's actually, it's not the water, it's part of the lymph structure in interaction with the fields becoming H2O, as you call it, mixed, and you have this sticky thing because it's actually the part of the lymph now is created in the body because you moved it slightly. It's not the way it used to be. And if you understand this, you have found answer to all the process of the creation and what you have problems with, cancers and everything else. If you change the field strength around the human body with the cancer, you don't need chemotherapy, you don't need it. But with cancer, you have to understand is the emotion of the man, which does the control of the fields of the environment and its emotion and creation of solidification. And if you understand this, you understand how bone structure is created, how you understand how nails are created and everything else. Why don't we get nails on the tip of our nose? What has purpose? What is brought emotion to create nails, that where the skin comes, we get the nail exactly where it should be, and all animals are there because of the emotion, not wanting to feel the pain. And being to be strengthened is, if you look at it, the nail is a backer of the front. When you pick things, there's got a wall behind it that it allows it to hold on to, and that comes from the emotion. Not to feel the pain of this meat, flesh bending backwards. He has given it a supporting wall. We call it the neck. They say need is the mother of invention. Emotion is the mother of the creation in dimension of physicality. And if you understand this, you can remedy anything. And your emotion is not, and emotion is set for certain thing, does not matter how you brush it and you color it, you cannot change it. You create your own cancer, you create your own blindness, you create everything you want. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. We have two hands up here with Azar and Nikolai. Azar, would you like to go first, please?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Actually, the video...
Excuse me, we are not in the morning. Where are you? We are in the American continent, yeah. Good morning.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
And
Sorry.
good evening, wherever you are.
Good evening. Okay, so actually, I was listening to the 539, the one who was an intro yesterday. I've been listening to it a couple of times. Something is not sinking. I just want to know if I have it right. You said, you see, when when you look at the physical body in terms of biology aspect of it, you have the left brain, right brain, you have the nervous system. You have the left side connected to the right side to the left side. Now, you said the emotion comes from the interaction of the field, magnetic or gravitational field of the soul of the man to the soul of physicality. So it has nothing to do with the neural system. For example, if I'm bringing emotion, is an interaction of those two, that emotion can affect the neural system, but neural system cannot affect the emotion. Say, imagine I stand in a place and I see a lion. I become scared. The emotion of the scaredness happens because of the interaction of the soul of physicality with the soul of my soul. And that emotion creates my nervous system to be affected by it. But it's not the nervous system going to be affected, then the emotion comes out. So it's totally different. Am I correct?
Repeat yourself and think what you're talking about, and I'll tell you something else. Does your emotion changes if you stand on your head about the same situation?
What do you mean, seeing a lion?
Yeah. When you stand in front of the lion, if you stand on your head, do you think it'll change that emotion of the fear to anything else?
No.
I think you answered yourself in a way.
Okay, because you see, because the reason I'm asking
No,
is,
don't
you know,
say
okay.
Okay is not
Okay, so
okay. Is not
so
okay.
okay, so I
Do you
so
understand?
I want to ask you something else. I want to go back in my childhood memory. So I want to see this. My grandmother used to hold these. I want to go back to my childhood memory to see why I wasn't affected by what was affected by them. For example, I give you this. I was maybe 10, 12. My grandmother used to hold these, they call it, I don't know what they call it. They, on a regular basis, women come in, like fill out the 2 rooms, and then the Ayatollah comes, sit on a chair, and everybody's covered with chador, and then he says a stop, and everybody's crying. And I used to stand there, look at everybody's crying, but I didn't know why I was crying, but I wasn't crying. My question was like, why everybody in that room was crying because of that guy was saying, but I was standing looking at them, why they crying? Because nothing was happening that was hurting them.
But ask yourself another question. Were they actually real tear crying, or was it a noise that satisfies the guy?
Yeah, they were crying. They're real crying.
Yes,
for example,
but why?
They talk about Imam Hussein died, and
yes,
you know.
Yes, that for people who are not Iranian is very hard culture to understand, and this is typically Shia behavior, and they have created such an emotion in the subconscious of the name of the religion that we don't think about what the guy says. We think what they preset in our mind. The same is with the Christians. When you go to a mass, if you stand in a mass, a lot of them do the same thing, the same shape, the same thing, but they cannot remember why they are doing it and what it means what they do. And we do this. We can do it. You see it in different cultures. They do the same thing in different way. But we are preset before. Is not what the guy says, is what we preset as a childhood, what this action, what this word means, we react to that.
Well, how come I wasn't crying?
You're atheist, what do you want? Put it this way, the the whole process is not just to do with that, but primarily when what you speak is about Shia religion and the way it's been brought up. We match to our own suffering instantaneously. You don't have that in Sunnis. It's just that it goes back to our childhood and preset emotion. There's a water always in the tap, but it doesn't drip unless you turn the tap. And the childhood structure in that culture, the guy knows what tap to turn. What word creates the tap? Because his predecessors have already, fixed the tap to that, the strength to open up.
Okay, another question I have.
That's not to do with the emotion of his soul. That's the emotion of physicality, and they know how to touch it and how to abuse it. This is what has become what we call, people mass cry because somebody died, because of what they feel in it, but they don't get involved in it. It's just to fit, to show the emotion.
But I think, Mr. Keshe, when I think about, I wasn't crying because the other kids with me, because we used to play in the other room and we just played, and the other one
because
crying.
They haven't tapped out to that emotion to you.
So none of our kids, none of us would cry because we look at them when these people are crying. Another question I have.
It's like a sneezing in that culture. Iranian culture is a very typical behavior culture in this. And we see it in some Indian parts too. It's not familiar to the West. Because that part of the emotion is not tapped into in the Western culture, in the religious part. And as I said, there's so many emotions that man does not even understand. And this is one of them. It's an emotion that culture, or what you call it, enforcement, has brought, and you trigger it. And they can trigger it anytime. I was with some top scientists this morning, and the discussion was very easy. We get riots. People don't agree with governments. The tools of today, we saw the riots in Iraq. The tools of today is we put the gunmen out, we bring the tanks out, we bring the soldiers out, we bring the police out, and we beat the hell out of them. We kill a few and the rest run away. But the satisfaction stays with the man, with the people. If scientists understand, and in a way is part of the teaching, and in a way part of when you join these sessions, when we go through the systems, you understand deeper application of this, but you have to design special systems for it. It's a specific knowledge. You can transfer through the mobile phones that everybody carries in their pocket now. And in 1 second, in a few minutes, the rioters go home. You don't need even to send a single policeman on the street. Not by controlling, but by satisfying the emotion. You cannot abuse with this technology, but if you give that satisfaction, you don't need riots on the street. And I was explaining to this scientist, is the level of the knowledge of the man today. If the man understands what sits within the structure of the Keshe Foundation, technical knowledge. We know this, but we never understood it. How come all the ones who are drug addicts behave the same way? How come the ones who are alcoholic behave the same way? We tell them they are drunk, we tell them they are addicts, but in a way, the field energy of the alcohol or the sugar and field energy of the weed or heroin or cocaine has a magic point that satisfies the emotion of the soul. Physicality doesn't matter, and we get addicted in that. If you look at it, the way the addicts shake when they're in deep condition is no different than Parkinson. And doctors, scientists have never understood this. If you can handle the Parkinson, you can handle the drug addicts. In no time, nobody will be addict, nobody will get Parkinson. One comes from the emotion of the physicality, one comes triggered by the field strength of the external matter, drugs or whatever, to give the same strength. Lack of knowledge brings this problem. And knowledge is the knowledge of creation, not knowledge of the books written by man just to enforce his ignorance. So, I promise you, I don't need to be Ayatollah, I don't need to be a mullah, I don't need to be a priest. I come in the room, 10,000 people, I say one word, they all cry, and I say one word, they all laugh. It's just what the audience was preset to presume. That word means in the dimension. And in Islam, with all the things called, if you listen to it, if you understand it, even in Christianity, when it comes to Easter, they use different version, but the same emotion as a victim. And we always feel pity for victim. Christ was a victim, but not the Christ. So we know when you're a victim, you're hurt. So we cry for the victim. You don't go on top of a person hit by a car and start laughing, do you? Because it's a victim. You cry for it. You show emotion towards it. And in our culture, when you say he comes and sits, and you said Imam Hassan and Hussein or whatever, he portrays the emotion of victim. He doesn't need to say anything. And they're preset in the childhood. When you're a victim, you cry for them. And then you understand the culture of abuse by religions. Always relied on the victims. You have emotional religions and you have cultural religions. Iran, a certain sect of Christianity is emotional victim, what they call religion. Any other question?
Mr. Keshe, if you're the, if I remember correctly from the past, if you are a craft in a space and I enter a zone that I don't want my craft to be seen, I can bring the gravitational magnetic field of my craft become equal with the gravitational magnetic field of my environment, and I can become invisible.
Yeah.
Now
you're a chameleon of physics.
Yeah, so now on this planet I'm walking, I can bring the gravitational magnetic field of my body equal to the environment.
No, really, you have to bring, no. You have to bring the field strength of the emotion and the field strength of the physicality and the physical manifestation of the matter state in balance with the environment.
So all two of them with the environment.
All three.
You mean the physicality, physical soul and the soul.
And the emotion. The emotion has to be in balance. I'm happy with this.
But isn't it the emotion the product of the physical soul and the soul interaction that creates that emotion?
Yes, because then the soul has a say into it as well.
Okay. And then
that's
I can
why
become
we say
invisible.
the emotion.
So I can become invisible forever on the planet.
Many people have that because they know how to do it.
Okay. Thank you.
In the trial of last Friday, part of the process was this. We did not work with your other part. I put a picture on the screen and I put a dot on it where I want the headphone to be, to interact with the emotion. If you move the headphone to another position in the body, you interact with the emotion of the soul. Then you control everything. And man is not ready for us to teach that yet. I always referred into teaching about the emotion of the soul and emotion of solar physicality. The solar, what we call emotion of the man, which comes from the solar physicality interaction. And when you understand this and you can bring it to be one, you can do anything.
But you said you cannot teach us that yet?
There are abusers. There are people who abuse the knowledge. This is our problem. It's not that man is not ready, but there are men who abuse the knowledge. And even some of the government abuse the knowledge which Keshe Foundation. If you understand it, then you understand how much they sit and they cajole with this. I can teach you everything. You're all capable to understand everything. None of you is dumb and none of you is handicapped mentally or psychologically in the level of the soul. I made man in the image of myself, and all men are equal in the level of the soul, nothing else. In a way, all created things are equal. Because all carry the soul of the Creator. Any other question?
Thank you.
Well, we have a hand up with Nikolai, but before we get to that, perhaps we can address the question in YouTube, who many people probably have a similar question from what you said earlier, Mr. Keshe. From Hera, who says, "Dear Mr. Keshe, so how can I reduce and or turn my hair back to my original color instead of it turning more gray?"
Is that a woman or a man?
Well, that's a good question. I'm kind of assuming it's a woman. I don't know. It's Hera, Hera.
I've never seen this. It happened 2-3 days ago. I was in a shopping mall and I was in the shop and there were a couple. I noticed the guy is looking at the woman with, amusement. The way he was looking, it brought me to notice he was looking at the woman. And the woman was standing in front of the mirror, and she had something like a dabber, what do you call it, a pad, and she was opening her hair and dabbing it with it. The white was becoming black. She was literally painting the root of her hair in public in front of the mirror, not noticing everybody else was noticing. And I said to myself, if there's someone new, you can change the color of her hair through the emotion of her soul. I wonder what would she dab on her head now? Years ago, go to archives of the Keshe Foundation.com, not .org. You find it on the history of the Keshe Foundation somewhere, because we lost that website years ago. It was just switched off. Reasons I don't know why. It was actually instigated by the Belgian government for us to lose it because they want to get stuff out of the airline. If you find it on the archives of the Keshe Foundation, we had a couple who, the man was sick, it was a special condition, and I created those days, not the Ganses, but the same energy through interaction of the fields of certain materials, which we never teach how to do it. Fields in the bottles you used to drink from the bottle. You didn't do anything else. There was no Ganses to put on the skin. There was no whatever. I developed a system, and as I said, there are thousands of these because they were made in mass for different applications. Where the woman in the interview, she tells the color of the hair of my husband is all becoming black, and they're changing the strength and the rest of it. And they were Dutch couple, and we have the knowledge to make you all black, but is your soul happy with it? And it's, or you do what the Chinese do. I was on a dinner table a few months ago, and I said, how do all you Chinese have such a perfect full head of hair? They turned around and they said, have you been to this city or something? They mentioned in the area or whatever. I said, why? It says, we all buy our wigs from there. It's all fake. It gets glued on very well that you don't notice. But if you desire to have hair and it's important to your ego, whatever, you can all change your color and grow hair at any age. I told you the story of the chemotherapy. You lose all your hair and everything grows back up. You can become your own chemotherapy. You actually creating fields, you become your own chemotherapy. Some changes color because of the fields, some change and drop the hair. And it's very easy to create black hair or change your hair the color it needs to be, or you want it to be. A lot of you, especially women, I do apologize, you lose a lot of hair, your hair breaks up, a lot of things. And now we see in the market they brought what is called vitamin 18, E18 I think it's called. And this allows the hair cells to be filled up, that they can hold on to oil and moisture, so the hair changes, you have no hair fall. It's a new product, past couple of years has appeared in the market. But if you look at it, you can create the same kind of emotion of that in your brain that produces that material. You don't need to go to single hair. And you never go color you don't like. You can even change it to green and blue if you understand the strength of the emotion. You can all be black hair or brown hair or whatever, or you can all go white because you think it's white fashionable today, and the next day make it green. As I said, you learn it, we teach it, gradually it'll come up. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We can go to Nikolai now and our attendees. Go ahead, Nikolai.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Mr. Keshe. This is Sasha, Nikolai's friend. We're listening together at this time in Spain, which is...
My God, you two are traveling well with each other, huh? You've been half across to Europe by now.
Yeah. Nothing is as good as Milan so far, but we're open. We're open. Nikolai was able to have a pizza, which he doesn't usually eat cheese or gluten, but we found a gluten-free pizza place, and he's still talking about it. So we're having a good time.
Good time. Where is the next country you're traveling to?
We're going to be in Spain for a while, and then after Spain, it looks like we're going to the UK for a few weeks, and then we'll see.
Okay. Well, you think you'll find your way back to Canada somehow?
Maybe for a visit, but probably not to live for quite some time. So, I had a question. If one were to read some classic spiritual books, such as Autobiography of a Yogi or Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East, there are references to spiritual masters, basically, who spend many years in caves meditating or doing other spiritual practices. But in some cases, these masters attain full enlightenment, and they talk about how they attain something called the light body. And there are stories of them appearing to their disciples in different parts of the world at different times. So it seems to me that fundamentally, my question to you is, are you teaching people how to attain the light body? Is this fundamentally what your teachings are? Or is there a difference between what these yogis are teaching?
It's not a light body. You understand the interaction of the field of the soul of the man. It's a transmutation. I keep on saying, what we teach is not exclusivity of Keshe. It's something man knows and is forgotten and really ends.
So what
on top, additional knowledge.
So fundamentally, what these yogis that have done this, they have remembered how to transmute. Is that correct?
No, they have learned how to expand their soul. And then when you expand your soul, you can position it anywhere you like. The expansion of the soul, or the release of the soul, or freedom of the soul, whatever you call it, comes at the point of when the feel the strength of the body of the man cannot hold, and we call it death. But if you can extend your soul at a way we call it a trance, or what we call scientifically as expansion of the soul, which interacts, or the physical body becomes inside it, it can go anywhere. In a physical life, if you put it one way, we can get blown away, moved from our position by the winds of this planet. If you stand in a strong wind, the wind can move you. In the dimension of the soul, when the soul takes or expands beyond dimension of physicality, the strength of this wish, or the wisdom of the man, you call it the wish of the man, the emotion of the man, it can be blown to any point where the soul finds its balance, where it wants to be balanced. This is why some knowledge seekers in transmutation have a problem. They don't go where they want to go, or they go where they want to go and do something with the soul. But They don't realize that when you go, we've done this with a number of knowledge seekers, because I always sit and think, and they're on the line, some of them, they can tell you. We ask them to go home and move something. They go home, they move a pot. But when they go home, in a real physical dimension, the pot is not moved. It says something wrong with them, something wrong with it. They haven't learned that when you arrive to the home, you travel by, you have to go back to the dimension of solar physicality, that you can physically move the cup to the new position, it will stay there. You come back, you go back to the strength of the field of the soul, and you come back and you're back with me. And this is the problem with knowledge seekers. But if you know how to master, you can manifest yourself anywhere. When you arrive at the point through the transmutation, when you go home and you move the chair, and then you go home, the chair is not moved. If you say they move, when you tell me, I say, the guy hasn't learned yet. As a wise man, I do not humiliate you. I just keep to myself. This student has not matured yet. You can't give him the mark yet. But if you learn that you transmuted, why you carry on with the energy in that position? You arrive to move a physical matter. You have to become physical to be able to move it.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Yeah, that makes sense.
The same thing is with the masters. These people who do transmute, they know where to manifest themselves in that position. And this, our knowledge seekers haven't learned yet. Gradually they will learn. The Indians have a beautiful saying, and I love to always, when it comes to Mrs. Neem Hakim Khatarijan, half a doctor is a danger to life because he doesn't know he kills the patient. You understand? He knows half of the medicine. And it's what knowledge seekers last Friday session was partially about this. If you feel good to see the light, and then I brought them back to physicality, took them back to the light, they feel the confidence they can move in this, then I ask them to move to the second light. The first light is usually golden color, like a sun, is the manifestation of physicality. In some cases, we see a light blue color in the soul. That means the human, the person is attached to this earth. It's so physical. Because blue is the sign of that. This is what we know as a blue planet. You understand later on what I mean. And then we ask them this for the second part to go from one light to see if they can find another light. It means they have become so detached that they see the light of the Creator. But again, in that level, the intensity shows how much the further you are, the brighter the light. The closer you are as part, there is no interaction but one. There is no light. When people be asked to go from dimension of the field of the man to the soul, when they speak about the bright light, green, golden light, I saw the sun, is blah blah, it means you haven't understood fully yet, because if you understand the process, that light has to be you, but you feel the emotion of the light, you never see the light. When we ask you to go to the next light and you say, I saw such a bright light, I see the created light. The further you are, the brighter it is, the more you're part of it. There is no interaction, because it's what we spoke with Azar, I think, a few minutes ago. When you bring the balance of the fields, you cannot be seen. How can you see the brightness? When you see nothing in that light, then you become part of the light. Then you come to feel the strength of the Creator.
So,
When Let me explain to you something. I've said that before, but now maybe you understand the history of the Keshe Foundation. When I was sat in front of the candle, maybe half a kilo candle, big one, sat against the window, and I was told to look into the light, and the candle flew. I said, I am the light, because I see the light of the Creator. And that was the point where I abandoned physical life, in that point on the spot. And I accepted the mission. You don't need to see, you feel the emotion of the light, and the same to be. And this is where it comes. And all of us have that capability. And that's what I said many times. Feel the emotion of the light. You don't need to see the light. And if you look at the people who wrote, we asked people at the end of the last Friday session to write. If one wrote, she has a beautiful soul. In the first one, I saw the light. In the second one, I felt the light. Means I came in touch with the soul of the Creator. And then it becomes detachment. But as knowledge seekers, you don't understand what it means. But as a man who understands the process, been through the process, is part of the process, explains where my students are, where your knowledge seekers sit. In detachment, in understanding the field of the Creator or field of the man. And when you speak to me, when you write, I've seen such a bright light, I've seen the light. When you see the bright light, you're still confirming physicality. When you feel the light, you become part of the transmutation. Then you understand everything else, if you understand that, how these people transmute. And you don't do it for magic, you do it for satisfaction of the soul of the man himself and nothing else. People used to go on the donkey and go and see somebody because they wanted to go and see how the next city looks like. Now that donkey is the magnetic field of the universe. How do you want to travel on it? There's a history about one of the British, very, very British, famous British actors, and how he fell in love with a woman on TV. I found out, he thought she was in South America, but found that actually she lives next to, not very far from where he lives. Because he imagined to be, but the reality was totally different. It was to be. Then we do a lot with these kind of emotions. We can't hold it, we imprison it. We can't hold it, we lock it up. We can't hold it. We don't have the strength to create it. Depending on our power, we imprison it. The good story, the good facts about this, if you know about Mr. Nazarbayev, and the ex-president of Kazakhstan. I had a long relationship with this government, and he was sitting watching the news, and he saw a lady broadcaster for the first time on TV. She appeared, first time and the last time, and he just fell in love with this woman on the screen. You and I and the others watch and says, a beautiful woman, she makes a good wife or whatever, partner. He had the power to send the forces to the television station. While she was even reading the news, she was brought to the palace and she never left the palace. And she bore 1 or 2 children for it. It's the desire and the strength and the power we have in what we can achieve. Not done in a physical dimension. We can do the same within us, within our soul. What we release as emotion, what we release as a feel. We don't need to enforce. We need to understand the process of creation. Then you don't need to keep them locked up. And by fear, you give the freedom of the soul. And then it will go where it needs to go, when it feels home. And if you understand this, you can do a lot of things. Any other question?
I would have a further question on this topic.
Yep. Because there's two of you, can answer two questions.
Excellent, excellent. There's always a loophole.
No.
So these masters, they came to understand the knowledge of creation. That's why they were able to, to transmute and attain the light body. But you weren't there teaching them. They got this knowledge in a deep meditation, which means
Oh, no.
hang on. Let me finish.
Carry on.
Let me finish the question. I know. I'm glad you're excited too.
No, I'm not excited. I could answer you, but let's see.
Well, let me do the question, and then I'm really curious for the answer. Otherwise, we have half question gives probably half answer, right? Same as your doctor.
Yeah.
So these masters, they were able to get this information. It seems like directly from the soul or from creation, because you're not there teaching. They're just in a cave meditating, and they still got the knowledge. But in a way, you're now teaching this knowledge. I'm in a physicality. You're in a physical body, and I'm hearing with my physical ears. So in a way, it's almost like you're teaching it you're bringing it to more people, right? Not everybody's a yogi who's going to sit and meditate for 20 years, but it's interesting that they were able to attain this knowledge directly. It's almost as if in a way, you're teaching it like you want everyone to learn it through the soul. But initially, it's like we have to learn through the physicality. We have to listen to a man speak and understand until we get to that point where we can actually listen directly, like the yogis did in those caves, because that's the ultimate way, right? Right from source, right through the soul, So it's really fascinating for me that they were able to achieve that without a teacher who knows exactly how to do it. They're just in a cave and they figured it out. Miracle.
No. First of all, I'll explain to you something, but I'll tell you something ahead of how we work and how they work. Past few days, I was one of the, what do you call it, eminent scientists of a nation. And we went through, and I was showing you, it was just exchange of knowledge, nothing else. I was showing him the systems which you've never seen in Keshe Foundation. We don't bring it in public, but unless elite scientists, world scientists come, because that's where we are heading with, we put these things on the table. And a couple of other, what do you call it, another knowledge seeker was with me when this process was happening. And he said his field was what was on the table, because especially I set up that part of the Keshe Foundation technology to be, because what he came, or what was the reason he was there to discuss. And he said, we know people transferring energy, whatever, and they've done this and that. But, and this has been my dream, he said, but you have managed to create systems which does show and works through the system to do what others we thought they knew, because we knew people can do this. But it's a system. I said to him, now is a technology. When is a myth? When is somebody could do, or one person can do, and others can't repeat it? We call it intent. But in fact, is in reality understanding the process of creation. And it's become a technology because you understand it, you can replicate it. We are, it says Keshe Technology. KesheTechnology.com. We deliver knowledge of creation as a technology that everybody can do. And regarding your guy in the cave, it's very simple. Most of these people went through, taught themselves by accident or by illness. Majority of them, if you speak or you know about the history of their life, they gone through a point of maybe through illness, a point of death that the soul expanded, and they learned about it. They remembered it. And they repeated it. It's not any different than when I tell you, when you die, the magnetic field of the physicality lowers down, the field strength changes, so the soul can expand. And you leave the body, because the field cannot hold. And it's the same with all these people you call masters. They're not the only one. You find many, many, many children get to that point. And if I tell you how, you might be one of them yourselves. Children in a young age, up to about 4 or 5, between 2 and 5, in that bracket, if they get sick with a high temperature, we're talking about 40, 41 degrees, where the body goes through a collapse, high temperature, and what we call, people say they hallucinate. It comes to the point that the body temperature goes up, which interacts with the field of solar physicality with the rest of it, and in balancing each other allows the soul to expand. And children, while they're in the arm of the mother, they ask for their mom. And the mother says, I'm here. They can't hear. Says, I want mom. You hear them. But they say, mother holding the child says, mom is here. I've seen this a few times, but scientifically you can understand it. And in that point, if the child learns to expansion of the soul, then it brings more closeness to the mother. When you bring temperature, that child become abuser. Then we see the behavior of ADHD on them. If you've been with me, if they bring a child and say he's ADHD, I ask one question. Has he ever had a high temperature in such a position? Because he's felt he's in control. Now I dictate. I can't see, so the mother says, I'm here, I'm here. What do you want? I'll do anything for you to see me, to get my love. We see the same thing with people who go through that point, and then, but if you remember, they do, then we see them, they can transmute. They don't need to go very high. They had a scenario in their life which they came across this point. It usually comes at the point of death, or it comes at the point of high temperature. But they learn they can do, because they saw themselves somewhere else, they could see the being released from the pain of physicality, and then they come back to it and it's there. So they learn how to do it because they've been there. And you don't need to. But now we made a technology out of it that everybody can do. You don't need to go through the death point, you don't need to go through a pain, you don't need to go through high temperature. And this comes from the magnetic field of the body of the man, reducing and understanding how it works. Hiding in the caves and the rest is all magician job to get what you call attention.
So, Mr. Keshe, I have Very interesting question. It's been on my mind for a while, but it seems like now is a good opportunity to ask.
Excuse me, you haven't become Jalal. You are only allowed 2 questions.
Well, one of them
Okay,
is Nikolai.
ask me the third one.
I'll give one of my questions to Sasha.
Okay,
Carry
last one, I promise. So I've been on the spiritual path for a very long time. I was very obsessed in finding out the nature of reality. You know, what am I? What is God? What happens after we die? So for me, I had my first kind of mystical experience in 2009, and since then I'd been very hardcore seeker in my own way, spiritual seeker. So I had a very profound experience in about 2019. It was not the first one, but it was the most crazy that I've ever had. And it's a long story, but the very short version is that I was having a conversation with my spiritual teacher, and in our conversation, I absolutely had a moment of total clarity, where I remembered that there is only existence itself, that all beings are this one source, that I was that forever. And it was a total remembering that there is only that, whether you want to call it consciousness or source or God, that's all there was and that's all there ever will be. And it was myself. I was that. And as I had this absolute total remembering, I knew I was going to die. And I literally looked at my teacher in the eyes and said, I'm going to die. And he said, it's okay. And in that moment, I let go. I actually accepted death. And I believed that I was going to actually leave the physical body, like a real death. And I let go, and I basically was a state of just consciousness. And I was waiting to go to the light because, as far as I was concerned, I had died, and I was waiting to go back to source. And I wasn't afraid because I knew I was everything. So there was no fear. I was just waiting to go. And some time passed, and eventually I woke up, and I was laying down on the ground, and my teacher was there. And I was so convinced that I had died. The first words out of my mouth were, "Am I dead? Did I die?" And he said, "Oh, no, no, no. The old you died. You're still here." And what my teacher described, what he saw, when I let go and I accepted death, I actually lost consciousness. He caught me and put me on the ground. And he told me that, and I let out a death scream, like a really, really big scream where people came running. And so he caught me and put me on the ground. And he told me he actually saw an energy leave my body like a cloud, and he saw the Pachamama, so the earth, the consciousness of the earth scooped up this energy and took it back into the earth. And that was, I guess it was like the ego or the character, whatever had died. It's everything that I believed that I was, but it wasn't me. I woke up out of that dream. So the question is, what died?
It's not died. It's what energy you let go. It's not death. You say you made a big, loud noise or whatever, scream. That's in the dimension of physicality which you let go. In the dimension of energy, you can't let go. And what you don't need, what you see as a load, you see it as a field transfer. In the way you release the fields which you think you don't need to have in soul emotion, you understand is, I don't need this, so others can use. So Earth is the creator of. You're not the first one who's been through this, and many people go through this, and others are witness to it. It's a long history. For centuries we know this. In a way, it's part of detachment. Those what you keep was attachment to the physicality of our life. Maybe that's why you live the life you do now. Nothing is important. And we live that way. And if we live that way, it becomes part of our life. It's a detachment from physicality and a detachment from physical life. With detachment from physicality, it brings you all sorts of things in your physical life, but it's detachment from physical life allows you the freedom not to carry what you don't need. The extra load is not there. In a physical life, you become detached from all these hullabaloo of cars and homes. And maybe you become a, what do you call it, a street cat. But in a dimension of energy or a soul or life of the universe as an energy level, what you don't need, you let go. And if there is something near you, which is made because your energy is made of your, especially energy of the matter state, is amino acid created by this planet through its magnetic field. It's the only thing we can absorb. But at the level of the soul, you travel in or you take a different position in respect to the, that's why we always fly up. Or we see ourselves flying up when we come in the dimension of the soul. We go to find our own position in respect. Any other question?
Yes, we have a hand up with Dean here. Go ahead, Dean, please.
Thank you, Rick. Good afternoon, Mr. Keshe. Mr. Keshe, I've just been listening to you, and you just touched on something I'm sure you know that was very direct. And I'm speaking of an experience in my life, in my physical body. When I was a child, I had something called pneumonia, and so I had very high temperature. I think I was about, I don't know, 3 to 5, something like this, maybe a little bit older, I'm not sure. But I went through that experience. I remember lying on the hospital bed, and they had a big fan trying to cool down the physical body as a child. So I went through that experience. So it was very interesting to hear what you were speaking about then. It sort of was a very direct interaction for me. So there's no real question.
Did you become? Did you become hyperactive?
I don't know. I don't think so. Well, maybe I was. I have no idea.
Or did you start looking for attention?
No, not that I know of. But children. How do children know that at the age? They don't know.
They don't know, but they see it. We are good learners. We are very good learners. A majority of us, I said, especially ADs and ADHDs, always goes back to the point when you feel you went weak enough and somebody tried to save you and give you attention, and you found out how you can get attention, so you play that game.
For me, Mr. Keshe, I don't. It's a medical term, and I don't. But I don't. For me, it doesn't exist.
Ask your mother. I'm going to ask your mothers and brother and sister.
Yeah,
sure. Has he become attention seeker because of it, or doesn't mean that everyone goes, but majority of what we see in that category always goes back to a high temperature and a point of fear or whatever.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't mean all the roads end up in Rome. Some roads go some other places. But it's what we see. Majority of, as I said, ADHDs, especially extreme AD, comes from extreme illnesses, long-term illnesses, and they do it, they fake it. I was watching your video a couple of hours ago, before the teaching, and we were watching this video yesterday, and we watched another video of the same person earlier on before. The person could not get up, had problems to get up. And then, whatever they did, whatever, later on, through intervention of whatever, she sat, somebody asked her to get up, she went and she sat, there was no what we saw as problems earlier on. And then the following day, the whole thing is nothing has changed, because actually if you look, she's still as good as yesterday as the intervention, but this way she doesn't get any attention. She never had this kind of attentions. Now, if I'm still bad, I say I'm bad, so I get the attention for people to come and see me. But in standing up and walking, it totally tells you the lie, getting attention. And it's very interesting to listen to the word and listen to the physicality, but they have no control over the physicality, because the physicality will already be controlled, it's already fixed. And this is very interesting. We see this, attention seeking, and keep wanting attention, to be loved, to be important, brings you to these points. And they pretend to be sick, but in fact, when you look at the video, it's a possibility. Because it's videoed.
It's interesting because you say that, but I was always a very quiet child. I was very reserved. I was the first child.
I gotta
I was always
ask your
very
mom,
reserved.
I don't believe so. Honestly, I have to ask. You know, we always think we are very good children, but when you reflect back on what he actually did and really truly look at it, put it this way, when I look at my life as a boy at ages you're talking about, 5 or 6 and 8 or 10, if I had a child like me, I would have died of heart attack. But I used to think I'm the most beautiful, silent child. They couldn't keep me quiet. They couldn't keep me in one seat more than half an hour. Impossible. I was so active. The world wasn't big enough. And I used to think I'm such a good boy. Why my mom always say you're so naughty, you're so busy? But I found out why I used to be busy. I used to eat, God knows, sometime quarter, half a kilo of sugar a day in different kind of teas and sweets and whatever. That energy has to be burned somewhere. If I have a child like me today, oh, I put the child out. Somebody else can have the headache in the morning to the school and bring back and see if the energy run out. But we never see who we are ourselves.
Yeah, so I hopefully I didn't do that to my poor mother and my family. And if I did, I soundly apologize and hope to elevate my soul to the point where I don't give them distress.
I know what is to be hyperactive. I was extremely hyperactive. I mean, it wasn't hyperactive. There was always something to do. Sitting home was a burden. You couldn't sit. You had to do something. Always on the move. And when you move so much, I remember one of my nannies used to tell my mom, "This child is going to kill me. I cannot catch up with him."
Yeah, I was always very, very active physically, Mr. Keshe, that's for sure. Like yourself, yeah. I was a very sporty person.
If you have a brother or sister, when you go home, the nanny says to your mom, "Oh, she's so beautiful." The other one says, "Oh, Mehran, don't talk about him. He did this. It was 1 second, 2 seconds about the siblings and 10 minutes about what Mehran has done wrong all day." And now we understand.
I can't believe that, Mr. Keshe, of you. I'm sure you're a very beautiful child.
No. I used to think I'm an angel, but when I think about what things I used to do, no way. God created a speedo machine on 2 wheels. Any other question?
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for asking my question. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Any other question?
Yes, from
shall we call it the last one? We're going for about 2.5 hours.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, from Jacqueline from the Brazilian community through Cristiano. Thank you for the opportunity to ponder and learn. I would like to know if we are not from here and we are passing through this experience here on Earth, wouldn't living eternally take us away from the unity?
Unity, it depends if you look at the human race or as a universal race. In each level, we find unity, or we find unity in one level, and whether we find unity, we have an everlasting life. And we create in the physical life conflict and whatever for not to be that we can confirm our existence. That's why we have armies. That's why we have politicians. That's why we have all sorts of things. And because we are at conflict with ourselves in dimension, and we allow others to create or feed that conflict with bigger. And we're all citizens of a universal community, but in different villages with our own accents, with our own behaviors, and now we're trapped in that condition. We call it Earth, we call it Jupiter, we call it another planet. But in essence, we're all citizens of the universe, one universal community. It all depends how much we want, how much we become good to go for excursion outside the village and see what's happening in the other village next door. We might call it a galaxy, we might call it a universe, but that's all it is. Life, intelligence, the love of the Creator is not the exclusivity of man. Thank you very much for today. And hopefully we see you next week. And we'll see where the knowledge of Creator will take us. Those of you who are still planning or working around to get to Iran, please complete your cycle, because we have to close it, we have to finish it. And we'll see what comes up next week. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.
Also, the registration for the transmutation session in July is available and should be jumped on by people as well.
These, because if you noticed, we very soon we'll make an announcement on a different direction that we have taken and its work. And in one way or another, we, one thing or without one thing, we're getting involved in the work of the international organizations and governments due to a technology, not due to our trying to poke on it. This technology brings its dimensions. And the way we see it, life will be very different in the upcoming time than what we are used to. And we are working, making every effort to bring the world into a agreement of peace by not fighting, but by understanding that the knowledge of the creation belongs to all of us, not no exclusivity to one color, race, or religion. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time, next week, somewhere in this universe.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for yet another Knowledge Seekers Workshop number 544 here today on Thursday, June 27th, 2024. So many thanks to Mr. Keshe, and many thanks to everyone for attending today. And our next public teaching workshop will be the One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace, and that will be in July at that point. It'll be Tuesday, July 2nd, and it starts at the 4 p.m. Central European Summertime. Okay, I think that's it for today, other than we'll go out with our usual flight enhancement spaceship unit. Again, thanks to everyone for attending, and may you have a good day. Bye for now. Sorry, I had the wrong video lined up here. Bear with me a second.